Nano Nuclear Energy, as well as Brian Spencer, Renewables Segment Leader at ABB. And we are here to discuss drivers of the energy transition, driving efficiencies and solutions for grid stability and resilience, and the role of public-private partnerships in infrastructure development. It is great to have the both of you with us. Certainly a lot to cover today. John, let's kick it off with you. Give us a brief overview of where Nano sits within the energy space.
Well, thank you, Jill. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us, and me in particular. And Brian, it's a pleasure to meet you too. So Nano is a vertically integrated nuclear microreactor company. 5 lines of business. Obviously, the design, development, and fabrication of microreactors themselves, fuel fabrication, fuel transportation, nuclear fuels, obviously, and there's a space component as well as a consulting arm to the company.
So it's 5 units of the nuclear, micronuclear sector are being covered by Nano Nuclear Energy. They are sweeping the energy system up into their company.
So where does it sit? It sits obviously it's it was the best IPO in small cap IPO in 2024. It is certainly not the largest company out there, but I think it's at the cutting edge and forefront of where we're going to be with microreactors.
Well, it has a large demand to fill, that's for sure. Brian, tell us about ABB.
Sure, yeah. ABB is a global player in the energy space where we manufacture things like circuit breakers, transformers, digital substations that really help power flow from where it's being generated to where it's being used. We're a global company, but do have a focus in the United States where we have 17,000 employees, about $9 billion in revenue. And so the United States is our biggest market, and so excited to talk about transition.
So let's talk about that, meeting the surging electricity demands. I mean, so much has happened so quickly when it comes to emerging technologies, even if we just isolate the conversation around AI.
Sure.
There's lots of demand to fill.
It really is an incredible time. I was fortunate enough coming up in my career to have found energy early. I feel like I have a pretty good runway for the rest because there's a lot that's going to be happening. I just read this morning, I think actually, that NEMA is expecting demand growth in the United States of 2% per year through 2050. And you'll hear a lot of different statistics. That's 50% more electricity needed by 2050 than we have today, which is really incredible. And so how are we going to meet that need? It really is going to be kind of all energies to the table and able to do that. Wood Mackenzie did an interesting study that I saw at the beginning of this year where they looked at just 2030. Where are we going to be to meet the demand of 2030? You take the demand growth, you then take out coal retirements that are already planned, you add in natural gas, and there's still a gap of over 100 gigawatts, and that's just 2030. So it's a tremendous opportunity for the energy industry.
It's only less than 4 years away. It's hard to wrap your head around.
It is.
Where does nuclear sit in the hierarchy?
Well, to tack on to continue on Brian's theme, the demand is growing, and it's growing just by consumer needs, electric vehicles, AI, data centers, Bitcoin, the mining that's required, the energy required for all these pursuits is massive. It's growing probably exponentially. Some would argue that we have abundant sources of energy in this country, and that's probably true. We do. But much like you wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, it is not prudent to rely on one source either. So diversification is applicable even in the energy sector. And that's where I think if you go back to your feared high school tests where you have the multiple choice questions and the D was the all of the above one, that's what the approach would be like. There's a need for fossil, there's a need for renewables, there's a need for nuclear. And of all those, nuclear is the most abundant of all of them. And you can't necessarily flip a switch and go 100% in one direction. It's a methodical kind of approach, and that's why we believe that it's important that we look at all of them, but primarily, in our case, nuclear, because you also can't be beholden on others for your security. Because at the end of the day, energy security equates to national security.
Yeah, and we were having that conversation.
Energy security equates to national security. And as I have said, America owns the energy sector of the world. We have national security.
Offline, but I think it's an important distinction that you make, where it can't be a one-size-fits-all solution with one particular type of energy for that reason. And some of the goals. I mean, 2030 is pretty aggressive. 2035 or some other, years that have been thrown out as well to get to a more clean space. But, that also involves the roles of public-private partnerships. You just don't get a permit and it happens, right? It's a 10-year process.
It's a process, and at least what we've seen is the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC, understands that the legacy systems and the legacy, processes that existed, let's say during the Cold War years, where these systems took 10 years to get online, is no longer competitive and viable. So I think that you're seeing a more receptive audience from the regulatory side, and plus, let's face it, it's something that they're not, they're looking at it for the first time as well. It's not as if they have a blueprint here that to go by. So we're sort of, I hate this phrase, I'm going to use it, I'm going to regret it. It's sort of you're building the plane while you're flying it, and that's exactly what's happening here in terms of the regulatory side of things.
Right. I'm sure.
And I've done a video on the Nuclear Regulatory Agency opening up their Nevada institutions for nuclear study and looking to partner with any company such as OKLO and Dream Inc. and Nanonuclear Energy to fast track all systems to where it doesn't take 10 years, but takes maybe 18 months to 2 years. So to get to 2030, have all these nanonuclear projects come about is very feasible.
There's also a public awareness campaign that needs to be had as well when you're talking about nuclear.
Well, public awareness, certainly, I think that it's both the industry and the government have been remiss in not doing a better job in articulating and conveying and communicating repeatedly that what we're experiencing now is a departure from the legacy systems that are in place that were designed and built in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So these are much safer and from the microspace, actually smaller. So you have passive safety features. You don't have the same amounts of fuel. You don't require the same type of coolant. So there's a whole physics and chemistry, behind this that makes a strong case for why micro is that much more flexible, adaptable, and actually employable.
Right. Well, I mean, it all goes back to efficiency at the end of the day. But back to John's point, Brian, the one-size-fits-all solution, whether it's solar, electric, or wind. I mean, you have to have backup power and redundancies in place. I mean, it would be naive to think otherwise.
Right. There's renewable energy is great. I love it. Right. You can make electricity via the sun or via the wind, but it doesn't always shine on us. It doesn't always blow, and that's really where we see batteries taking a huge leap in this space, which is really to absorb that power during the day or when it's windy, and then dispatch it when it's absolutely needed. And this is only going to continue. The growth in energy storage is going to be massive over the rest of this decade, and then further on.
And there is a sector to look at too. Energy storage production is going to be a massive sector. Not only energy creation, but storage.
Which is really exciting. And it isn't just backup power. It isn't just harvesting the sun when it's shining and then spitting it out when it's dark. Batteries can do some really cool things. Frequency regulation is kind of a wild, invisible concept, but for a utility, absolutely critically important for them. And so energy storage as a firming mechanism to renewable energies is critical. And I think that we'll continue to see that be a huge trend in the renewable energy.
When you get into the other side of I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think the little missing link there in terms of renewables is just that, batteries and storage. Because if you could solve for that, you really, really make a tremendous amount of progress. So when we think, especially from a micro perspective, and what nuclear provides in those situations where you are subjected to the vagaries of the weather, you have something that is reliable and constant.
Yeah, I mean.
All right. This is Neil's on Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Buy some silver, some platinum, and some crystallized osmium. Be kind, helpful, and grateful, because it's better than being a jerk. And God bless America and everyone here, because God has blessed us. It's going to be bad times coming the next 2 months or so. It'll be over with quickly, I imagine. Like I've said before, by the end of Q3, we'll see light at the end of the tunnel. We're already at the beginning of Q2, so it's not that far away for all of this to be over with. Hang in there, folks. Look at nanonuclear energy. Look at battery technologies. Those are the future growth technologies in the energy market. America is leading the way. We own the energy sector of the world. We are the innovators, creators, new technologies coming out, which guarantees that we're going to be there for generations to come. Don't give up on America, folks, just because you listen to the news. Listen to Niels on Dynasty. I'll tell you how it is. Have a great night.